Oh, hello there, my fellow American. I know the NBA Finals are going down, and we're all excited to see which superstar we're going to say is a choke artist in the next couple weeks. But what if I told you that a sports tournament is coming up that will provide you 3 games a day action for practically a month? Look at me, DraftKings bro, and let me whisper into your ear. Parlay City, baby. Not sponsored by DraftKings, but hey, you want to call me? I'm broke. But yes, Euro 2024 is about to kick off. And for many of my Americans, you might be asking, what the fuck is the Euros? It's basically like the World Cup, but only if your country colonized the New World. No Argentina, no Messi, no Brazilians, which means England actually might have a fighting chance. I'm kidding. They don't have a chance. But this tournament is a bit of a soft spot for me, as it was the first Clueless Americans video I ever made. And if you are new here, I would go back and watch that first one, because it'll catch you up on all the basics of European football. But I digress. I mean, just look at this intro. This tournament is going to be an absolute classic. And who doesn't love a good tournament art? Do you not want to witness the biggest names in the sport write their story on the European stage? I know I do. So as per usual, let me be your guide, give you a quick rundown on who are the favorites, the players to watch, inform you of the multiple curses that might be going on, and even give a few sleeper teams for all the cool kids in the back. And even if you can't figure out a team to root for, I got you, bro. I got a secret third option. A darker option, but more on that later. And by the time I'm done with this video, you'll be primed and ready to indulge one of the last great European-only traditions white people are allowed to enjoy. Welcome to the Clueless American's Guide to the Euros 2024 edition. But first, like UEFA, I gotta pay some bills. Hey, you might have noticed that Leverkusen had an invincible season this year. But what if I told you there was a team that had back-to-back invincible seasons? And you can only find their kits on today's sponsor, Singalo. Listen, if you want to buy some of the sickest, hard-to-find kits from around the world, then Singalo is the site for you. They're the official sellers, some of the best teams on the planet that only the finest football connoisseurs would know about. Oh, you haven't heard of Young Elephants FC? The 2-time invincible winners of Laos? And come on, you're going to look at this magnificent badge, and you're going to tell me it's not one of the most beautiful things you've ever laid eyes on? Or maybe you want a Benfica kit with a little bit of Cantonese cooking. Let me introduce you to Benfica Macau, Benfica's sister club located in the Las Vegas of Asia. Or maybe you want a little clean Robin Egg Blue? Then check out this kit from Thep in Vietnam. All of these are only available at Singalo. So if you want to start making your friends jealous today, then you got to get your hands on some of these ultra rare kits. Embrace your inner football hipster and look good doing it. So go ahead, click on the link on the top of the description. Thank you, Singalo, for sponsoring today's video. Now, back to the show. And listen, I myself, as a minority, I have to say this. I get it, white people. I see how it's been for the last couple of years. It's been rough. You've been made to feel guilty about just existing. Y'all had to post black squares on Instagram, and then they made Little Mermaid black. It must have been tough for you. And you know what? You guys don't deserve all that. I said it. In fact, white people don't get enough credit for what they've given to the world. Like Democracy, Breaking Bad, and Bill Burr.
How many of those white people are evil movies are they gonna make?
All dope. So you know what, white people? Please indulge in the Euros. And honestly, it's one of the few last bastions you can celebrate your proud heritage guilt-free. All right, let's see where it's held this year. Germany. All right, so maybe don't celebrate too hard. When the Germans get too prideful, it can get out of hand, you know? But yeah, it's going to be hosted in Germany. And first and foremost, let's get the boring stuff out of the way. Where can you watch the Euros in America? Well, it's going to be hosted on the Fox family of networks. Or if you want to stream, Sling TV is the cheapest option. Or if you're broke, I'm sure you can be resourceful with the internet. Wink. But starting June 14th, basically run until July 6th, you're going to be averaging 3 games a day. Which means if you're living on the East Coast, you're going to be waking up, having a game at 9 a.m., then another game at 12 p.m. And yeah, did you like that? Well, here's another game at 3 p.m. Welcome to a sports watcher's paradise. And remember, there are no commercials while the game is running, making soccer one of the last bastions of true escapism in our lives that isn't tainted by the seductive touch of late-stage capitalism. Say goodbye to your girlfriend, if you have one. Say goodbye to the outside world. In fact, say goodbye to most of your shitty life. I know I will. But a little caveat though, if you're on the West Coast, it might be a little bit tough getting up for that 6 a.m. game. But hey, you still got a 9 a.m. game and a noon game. Then you have all the evening. Play Helldivers 2. Do people still play that, or did Sony fuck themselves in the ass? Anyway, the format is similar to the World Cup with one key difference. They start off by doing group play first, in which the top 2 teams in each group will advance. But they're also going to bring on the 4 best third-place teams from the group stages and add them into the final seeded bracket. And from that point on, it's going to be single elimination. Winner moves on, loser goes home. And they're going to do that all the way until the final on July 14th. And listen, this is a lot of footy. If you can't watch every match, no worries. Just get the highlights on IG, TikTok, if that's still around, or YouTube. Or better yet, if you want to do me a solid, subscribe to this channel, as I'll be keeping you up to date with a weekly show of what went down in Germany. Also, follow me on IG, @TheFatAsianOfficial, where I'll be live reacting to the Euros as it happens. And as mentioned before, the host nation is Germany this year. And if it's Germany, we know everything is going to run pretty much perfectly. I mean, look at the logo, look at this intro. About the only thing the crowd's got wrong is this mascot. Look at this monstrosity. On the website, they apparently named this fiend Albert, and was said that this design was voted on by school children. And I have never seen a mascot that so desperately wishes for the sweet release of death. I mean, look at poor Albert. Honestly, relatable. Actually, I take back. This is the perfect mascot for 2024. I give you Albert, the existential dread bear. All right, so now you know when and where. Now we have to move on to the most important question. Who do you root for? There are 24 countries to choose from. And of course, you got the big boys from social studies. You got England, France, defending champions Italy, Spain, Germany. But you also got a couple of the Nordic countries like Denmark and Netherlands is pretty good. And you can't forget about my Eastern Bloc boys. You got all the Anias here. You got Albania, you got Slovenia, then you got my personal favorite, WrestleMania. Always awesome. But you get it, there's a lot of teams to choose from. Who do you root for? Well, if you don't want to root for the hosts, and you are of the Caucasian persuasion, I would recommend what I said last Euros. If you have ties back to the fatherland, pretty easy who you're rooting for, right? But if you're a mutt, and I'm talking like your 23andMe is just a color pie of country, then you, my friend, have it the best. Because this is a strat that I would personally do. You just slow play it during the group stages. You don't announce your allegiance to any one country yet. No, you just see which countries are looking strong. And then when it gets to the knockout stages, boom, lifelong France supporter. Make up some bullshit story about how you and your grandpapa used to watch games all the time when you were a kid. No one's gonna fact check you. Your grandpa's dead. But let's say you're not white. In fact, let's say you have a little melanin in your skin. Then that's easy. Just root for the black team, France. For all my American homies who got immigrant parents, this is a team of players with immigrant parents that moved to a new country in pursuit of a better life and probably beat their asses when they acted up. It also doesn't hurt that they've been arguably the best team in the world for a decade. And in my eyes, they're the favorites to win it. While they did have a disappointing showing at the last Euros, sandwiched in between that was a World Cup win in 2018 and a second place finish in Qatar, where they were Emile Martinez ball sack away from going back to back. They kept most of the same core as the last World Cup, and the coach, Didier Deschamps, has seen it all, knows what it takes, and what buttons to push to win at this level. They have the best player at this tournament. Kylian Mbappe has just announced his move to join Real Madrid ahead of this tournament. Might be a little bit bitchy toward him for moving abroad, but I mean, come on, half this team is already on Real Madrid. Mbappe will be joining future teammates Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and Ferland Mendy. And this is how good France is. There are more Real Madrid players on the French national team than on the Spanish national team. A little bit of a fall off Spain, not gonna lie. Now England's lineup might be a little bit more star-studded, but the plethora of options on the bench, the weapons available for Deschamps to throw on. They're very rarely going to be out of it. Defensively, they're probably better than England. Saliba, easily better than any English defender. And the pace that France has on the flanks, Jesus Christ. They're going to snap a couple fullbacks' hamstrings. And you have Antoine Griezmann providing the creative spark. And the always reliable Olivier Giroud up front. This side has very few weaknesses. This should be the team that lifts the trophy at the end of the tournament. No Messi plot armor can stop them this time. Vive la France. Now, if you don't find either of these options appealing, there is a third option, a darker and forbidden option. Now, this option has been around for a while, but it has become much more celebrated and embraced by the sporting community over the past couple years. Of course, I'm talking about the art of the hate watch. Listen, only one team can win it all, and if it isn't your team, you might as well take joy that it isn't someone else's team. And if you take immense pleasure from watching someone else's downfall, then do I have a team for you. And as it just so happens, they are the inventor of the sport. England. Oh, England. You have the best starting 11 on paper. Your rivals are drifting out of their golden generations while you are growing into yours. You've done so well at the last couple of major tournaments, and you'll probably get far in this one. Hell, you might even make it to the final. But we all know, somehow, some way, you will find a way to choke it all away. There's just too many Arsenal players on your team. Jokes aside, for those uninitiated, England is cursed. Since 1966, they've been doomed to crash out of every major tournament that they've ever attended, and sometimes they don't even qualify. Their golden generation of the early 2000s, comprised of a starting 11 worth of FIFA icon cards, barely made a peep on the international stage during their run. It used to be a joke how bad England would underperform at tournaments. But recently, this new generation, under Gareth Southgate, has actually been pretty good. They made it to the Final Four of the last 2 World Cups. They were the runners-up at the last Euros. And what used to be a callous, dejected nation now has a fan base that, frankly, is a bit overly optimistic. Paradoxically, Gareth Southgate actually gets a lot of shit in England, but legitimately, he's a good manager. He makes all the pragmatic decisions that help you excel at major tournaments. And while many have criticized him in the past for his loyalty to certain players, they got nothing to say this time because he has made no concessions. Old favorites like Marcus Rashford and Jordan Henderson on the chopping block. Instead, he's opted for more informed players this year. Exciting new names sprinkle the roster. Kobe Mainoo and Cole Palmer are coming off of breakout seasons. Jude Bellingham was an early contender for Ballon d'Or. And then there's Harry Kane. And side note, it was as if the football gods took England's trophyless streak and said, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we just took all of that and put it into one player? And then they made Harry Kane. Easily one of the best strikers of his generation. He could have been the Premier League's all-time goal scorer if he stayed, but he left Spurs this past summer to win the first trophy of his career, and he went to the most assured spot in Europe, the 11 consecutive time champions of Germany, Bayern Munich. People were joking before the season started that winning his first trophy with Bayern was like losing his virginity to a prostitute. But Harry Kane moves there, is the top scorer across Europe, and somehow Bayern goes on to have their first trophyless season since 2011. Do you understand how powerful the Harry Kane curse is? It might be the most powerful curse in Europe right now. Flanking him on the wings will be Arsenal's brilliant, young Bukayo Saka. And on the other side, probably the Man City boys, Phil Foden and part-time drunk Jack Grealish. England honestly has an embarrassment of riches on offense and in the midfield. Declan Rice is coming off a career year at Arsenal. Jude Bellingham is the best young midfielder in the world. And the tough spot for Southgate is deciding who is going to be that third player to play alongside him. Do you go Cole Palmer? Do you go Kobe Mainoo? I mean, these are good problems to have. The only maybe weakness of the squad is the defense. But really, all this will not matter. Because we all know, as hate watchers, they will find a way to cock it up. And here, I can probably even predict how it's going to go down. They're going to finish top of the group, get into the knockout stages, look iffy in 1 or 2 games, but then they're going to get one really convincing win. And that is all it's going to take for the entire country to fall head over heels for this team. People are going to be singing, they're going to be making TikToks, saying football's coming home, it's their year. And then, be it in the semis or in the final, they're going to find a way. Be it a defensive error, penalty shootout, some VAR bullshit, it isn't going to matter. They will find a way to punt themselves out of this tournament. And then you, my good sir, who have waited patiently in the shadows, biding your time, you shall emerge with the biggest shitting grin and laugh. It's stuff like this that makes you realize that people are just kind of all the same, no matter where you are in the world. England fans are just like Cowboy fans. They get all riled up when they win a couple of games, then the playoffs come, they get whipped up into a frenzy, but you know when the lights get too bright, they're gonna fold. And that's when Stephen A. Smith comes in and laughs in their faces. And just like the Cowboys, they'll never let you down. They haven't let the hate watchers down in almost 60 years. That is England. And you get the privilege to watch an entire country's heart shatter. I'm talking small children crying, grown men crying. It's beautiful. Lick up those tears. Let it energize you. And as they bow out, you can put down your remote as your successful hate watch is done. But remember, I do warn you, you cannot indulge too much in the dark arts of hate watching. For if you do, you become an old bitter man full of regret. So those are the prohibitive favorites. But let's do a speed round for some of the other big names. Germany, of course, is the host nation, but ever since they won the World Cup in 2014, they've kind of sucked dick at major tournaments. But the team should be revitalized by some exciting young talents. If you checked out my last video, Bayer Leverkusen had an invincible season that, among many things, brought us the burgeoning superstar, Florian Wirtz. And this kid might just be one of the world's best already at the age of only 20 years old. He possesses Picasso levels of creativity, which he combines with Messi-like dribbling to become an absolute nightmare for any team to deal with. But not to be outdone, Bayern Munich's wonderkid Jamal Musiala is probably the third most exciting young talent in the world right now, only behind Mbappe and Erling Haaland. The things this kid can do with the ball at his feet are Houdini-esque, and with these two starlets, the future of Germany seems bright. But at this tournament, they will be bolstered by a defense led by the best center back in the world currently, Antonio Rudiger. And if you haven't seen the clips of this guy, he's a little bit of a character. Let's just say that. In net, they have Manuel Neuer. I don't think it's an argument. He's the best keeper of this generation. Getting up there in age, but still solid. So all in all, they should have a better showing than at previous tournaments. But I will say they have two major issues. One is Musiala and Wirtz kind of play the same position, so balancing the formation can get a little bit tricky. And also, kind of bearing the lead here, there's a curse. Not on Germany specifically, but on the home nation of the Euros. Because dating back to 1984, every nation who has hosted the Euros has failed to win the tournament. So yeah, do I think they're going to win the whole thing? Probably not. But personally, I'm looking forward to a revitalized Germany returning to superpower status. Then we have Italy. They're defending champions. You'd think they'd be pretty good. But if we're honest, they were kind of a Cinderella story at the last Euros. No one expected them to win. And in fact, after they won the Euros, they failed to qualify for the World Cup. So who knows with this team? They're kind of Jekyll and Hyde. And to be honest, they're never really the favorites in any major tournaments. But here's the thing about them. They play a defensive style that lends itself well to tournaments when they can qualify. And this squad does feature probably the best midfield defender combo in the world right now in Bastoni and Barella, but I kind of question if they have enough firepower to go far in this tournament. Might be a mistake to underestimate them again, but we'll see. Next up, Spain. And I like España mucho. Now, while that golden generation that dominated 3 major tournaments in a row is all but gone, this next generation isn't half bad. Remember, they showed really well at the last World Cup. Barcelona products Pedri and especially Lamine Yamal have exploded onto the European stage. Yamal dazzled earlier this year when he absolutely cooked Brazil, and he will undoubtedly embarrass a few defenders at this tournament. Grimaldo and Carvajal will give them the best fullback pairing at this tournament, and Man City's Rodri is the best defensive midfielder in the world. Not too shabby for a roster, but I have the same issue with them as I do with Italy. I don't trust Morata up top, so I don't know where the goals are going to come from. But it's Spain. They'll probably just pass it into the net. And then we get to my personal dark horse for the tournament, Portugal. While there's no Messi at this tournament, there is a Ronaldo. And here's my hot take. I think Portugal can win this whole damn thing if Ronaldo doesn't play. We're still playing FIFA. This is the team that I would pick to play in their Euro game mode because pace. They might actually be scarier than France on the counter. Rafael Leao might be the most talented left winger in the world, not named Vinny Jr. or Mbappe. The kid with the $1 million smile was a spark plug for them at the last World Cup, with all the talent of the world at his feet. And on the other wing, you have the nitro-quick Neto, and at center forward, you have Liverpool's Diego Jota. But this is why I think they might actually be deadlier on the counter than France. They have 2 players that can actually make the passes up to those attackers. Bruno Fernandes, despite looking like a rat, is still one of the best playmakers on the planet. He may not be the most consistent passer of the ball, but he'll take chances and make chances where very few others can. And if you give enough space, he can hit some bangers from distance. Then you have Man City's Bernardo Silva, who is one of the most intelligent and technically brilliant footballers in the world. With those 2 masterminds pulling the strings in the midfield, this team can kill you on the break, or they can slow you down and pick you apart. They have 2 elite attacking fullbacks and a stubborn enough defense that they should pose a threat to any team they face. Combine that with an easy group and a plethora of options on their bench, and I don't know why this team isn't getting more hype. Now, they might not have the big names and top-end talents like the favorites of this competition, but they have a well of depth. And make no mistake, the guys in the starting 11 and the guys on the bench can fucking ball. And actually, the more that I talk about it, the more I'm convincing myself they might win this whole damn thing. You know what? I'm going to log in DraftKings right now. I'm going to throw a tenner on them. Fuck it. We ball. Not financial advice, by the way. And now, for all my cool kids in the back, I got 2 sleepers for you. First up is Scotland. Yeah, Scotland have been hot in qualifying. They beat Spain 2-0. And more importantly, they were the team that kept Norway from qualifying for this tournament. And any team that can keep Erling Haaland from getting into this tournament has my respect. Then there is Croatia. And we keep counting them out. And all they do is make it to a World Cup final and follow that up by making it to the World Cup semis. Luka Modric is older than One Piece, but the team keeps on finding ways to win. Gvardiol is one of the best young defenders in the world, even though he seems like he wants to be a striker. And much like Italy, they play a stout, pragmatic style that can grind out results, and sometimes that's enough. And really, when I see Croatia go on these amazing runs, all I can think is that Christian Pulisic really made a mistake when he chose the US over Croatia. But goddammit, we love you for it. We love you, Christian. And yeah, I think that's enough of a primer to get you ready for one of the best sporting tournaments on the planet. I know I'm fucking hyped, and I'll be watching all the games at my local sports bar for the next 4 weeks. I'm gonna be in there just fucking decimating some wings. And listen, undoubtedly, there's gonna be some team that I didn't mention that's gonna come out of nowhere. Maybe it'll be one of the Vanias, maybe Ukraine will make an emotional run. And when they do, I'll be here every week of the tournament to break down how it all went down in the old Deutschland. Thank you guys all for watching. Once again, looking to add an editor to my team, hit me up on Instagram at TheFatAsianOfficial. Thank you to my lovely editor, Lewis, for helping me edit this one. And thank you to all my patrons who help make content like this possible. Special thanks to John Oliver and Elm for being in the GOAT tier. And yeah, I'll see you all next week.